The story begins on a quiet evening in a small village where the sky blushes in shades of orange and purple before surrendering to the dark. A mother sits outside her clay house, humming an old tune she learned from her own mother. It's a song of waiting, a song for sons who have gone to the city to find fortune. Her name is never said, but her face tells 1,000 stories of love, loss, and the strength that mothers wear like second skin. That night, her phone rings. She looks at it, unsure whether to pick it up. The screen flashes a number from the city. She answers. And for a moment, the world around her seems to stop breathing. A man's voice on the other end says, "Madam, your son has been found. He's alive, but barely." The scene fades into memory, a brighter time. 3 years earlier, her son left home with a small bag, a certificate, and the promise of greatness. He was young, brilliant, and full of hope. The entire village gathered to see him off. They said he was their pride, their light, their bridge to a better tomorrow. He smiled and promised to make them proud. When the bus pulled away, the crowd cheered. But his mother stood silently, her eyes following until he disappeared into the dust. She whispered, "Come back home, my son, whole." The city welcomed him with open arms and hungry teeth. The first thing he noticed was the noise. Cars honked like impatient hearts, generators hummed like restless bees, and people moved as though they were being chased by time itself. He stayed with a cousin who already looked worn out by city life. Every morning, he woke up before sunrise to search for work. He carried his CV like a passport and his dreams like luggage. But in the city, dreams are currency, and not everyone can afford them. After months of rejection, he met a man who introduced himself as a digital consultant. The man wore expensive suits and spoke the language of success. He promised to show him how to make real money online. At first, it was innocent. Managing social media accounts, helping with emails, marketing products that barely existed. Then came the darker side, deceiving people in the name of business. When he hesitated, his new mentor laughed and said, "Don't be naive. The world respects results, not morals." Those words took root. Soon he began to change. He moved from the cousin's tiny room to a rented apartment in an upscale neighborhood. He bought flashy clothes, new phones, and started posting motivational quotes online. He told the world he was a brand strategist, but in truth, he was drowning in guilt. Every night, he lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the city breathe outside his window. The noise was constant, a reminder that he was part of something bigger and emptier. He stopped taking his mother's calls. He told himself he would visit when he made his first million. But the more he earned, the less he slept. He began attending parties filled with people who laughed too loud and cared too little. They clinked glasses to success stories built on deception. Somewhere deep down, he knew he was losing himself. But the applause was addictive. Months later, he followed a business contact to another country, South Africa. He was told the real opportunities were there, where big money moves were happening. He left the city that had reshaped him and crossed borders with dreams even bigger than before. At first, everything seemed golden. The skyline, the luxury, the sense of belonging among people who spoke the same language of hustle. But beneath the glitter, he began to notice cracks. His new partners were ruthless. They spoke about people like they were numbers. He found himself in meetings that ended in silence and deals that smelled of blood. One evening, he received a message from home. His mother had fallen ill. He promised to send money but didn't. Not because he didn't have it, but because he was afraid she'd hear the emptiness in his voice. The guilt ate at him. He began drinking to forget. The man who once read books by candlelight now woke up beside strangers, his phone full of lies and his heart full of noise. Then came the fall. One of their biggest deals went wrong. A partner was arrested, and the network began to crumble. Fear gripped him. He deleted files, wiped his phone, and tried to disappear. But conscience is not an app you can uninstall. He collapsed in a hotel room, alone and exhausted, whispering, "I just wanted to make something of my life." He woke up in a hospital, disoriented. A nurse told him he had been found by a cleaner who heard him gasping in the early hours. She said he was lucky to be alive. For the first time in years, he cried, not for what he had lost, but for what he had become. When he recovered, he made a decision. He sold what was left of his belongings and returned home. The journey was long. He watched the landscape change from concrete to earth, from neon lights to moonlight. By the time he arrived in his village, his mother was sitting outside, humming the same tune she used to sing. When she saw him, she stood still. Her eyes filled with tears, not of anger, but of relief. He fell to his knees, unable to speak. She placed her hand on his head and whispered, "You came back whole." He started small again. He began teaching young people in the community about real digital skills, coding, design, and honest business. He used his story as a warning. He told them that success without peace is failure dressed in gold. Slowly, the village started to change. With donated laptops and community effort, they built a small learning center. Children who once chased goats now chased knowledge. He didn't have much, but he had peace. And that peace became his wealth. Years later, when people spoke of him, they didn't talk about the money he once made or the city life he left behind. They spoke of the boy who went to the city, got lost, and came back to light the way for others. His story became a mirror, a reminder that the city doesn't always destroy. Sometimes it refines. Behind the silence, it says, are stories of broken dreams and rebuilt lives. The city ate many, but not all. Some found their way home, scarred, wiser, but whole. And sometimes, returning home isn't a step backward. It's the only way forward.